Most people believe disrespect begins with an insult. It doesn't. It begins the moment someone believes there will be no consequences for crossing your boundaries. The world is constantly testing you, not with obvious attacks, but with subtle challenges. A dismissive glance, a broken promise, a joke made at your expense, a moment when your silence is mistaken for weakness. These moments determine how others will treat you for years to come. Powerful people understand something that the average person never does. Respect is rarely given because you are kind, talented, or honest. It is earned by the way you respond when your value is questioned. They don't react emotionally, they don't beg for approval, and they certainly don't waste their energy trying to convince people of their worth. Instead, they master the psychology of power, patience, and calculated action. In today's speech, you will discover how the world's most influential individuals handle disrespect without losing control, destroying their reputation, or revealing their emotions. You'll learn why emotional reactions make you predictable, why silence can become your strongest weapon, and why true power is often invisible until the moment it changes everything. If you've ever been underestimated, ignored, betrayed, or treated as if your presence didn't matter, stay until the end. Because by the time this speech is over, you won't just understand why people disrespect others. You'll know exactly how powerful people make others think twice before doing it again. The first mistake most people make when they feel disrespected is allowing their emotions to make the decision for them. Their heartbeat accelerates, their voice changes, and before they have even understood what has happened, they are already reacting. This reaction may feel natural, but it immediately gives away one thing that powerful people never surrender easily: their self-control. The moment another person can predict your emotional response, they begin to influence your behavior. They know which words can provoke you, which actions can distract you, and which situations can push you into making mistakes. What appears to be a simple emotional outburst often becomes an invisible transfer of power. Powerful people understand that disrespect is often a test rather than an attack. Some people intentionally observe how you respond under pressure before deciding how far they can push you. Others disrespect people simply because they enjoy emotional reactions. They feed on anger, arguments, and unnecessary conflict because every emotional response confirms that they have successfully controlled someone else's state of mind. The strongest individuals refuse to provide this satisfaction. They remain calm, not because they are weak or indifferent, but because they recognize that composure protects their position. Remaining calm requires discipline. It is easy to appear confident when everyone is respectful, supportive, and polite. The real measure of inner strength appears when someone questions your value, interrupts your words, ignores your efforts, or openly challenges your authority. At that moment, your mind begins creating stories. It tells you that you must respond immediately, defend yourself, and prove your worth. Powerful people interrupt this mental process. Instead of acting on emotion, they pause long enough to observe what is really happening. They ask themselves whether the disrespect deserves attention or whether responding would only increase the importance of someone who has not earned it. Silence often becomes one of the most intimidating responses because it creates uncertainty. Most people expect immediate anger, excuses, or arguments. When none of these appear, they become uncomfortable. They begin questioning whether they have underestimated the person standing in front of them. Calmness forces others to think, while emotional reactions allow others to predict. The person who remains emotionally balanced controls the pace of the interaction, while the person who reacts emotionally follows the pace created by someone else. There is another hidden advantage to composure. Emotions narrow perception. Anger makes people notice only the insult, while calmness reveals the motive behind it. Was the disrespect intentional or accidental? Was it designed to provoke jealousy, insecurity, or fear? Is the person seeking attention, dominance, or validation? Powerful people gather information before choosing a response. They understand that knowledge creates leverage, while impulsiveness destroys it. History repeatedly shows that influential leaders, successful entrepreneurs, skilled negotiators, and respected commanders rarely allow their first emotion to become their first action. They recognize that every emotional display communicates something about their confidence. Someone who instantly explodes reveals insecurity. Someone who constantly defends themselves suggests that their confidence depends on outside approval. Someone who stays composed communicates that their value is not determined by another person's opinion. This does not mean powerful people ignore disrespect forever. It means they separate emotion from strategy. They choose responses based on long-term outcomes rather than temporary satisfaction. Sometimes they answer directly. Sometimes they walk away. Sometimes they wait for the perfect opportunity when their response carries greater impact. The difference lies in timing. Emotional people seek immediate relief. Powerful people seek lasting influence. Many individuals confuse loudness with strength. They believe raising their voice, insulting someone back, or proving themselves in every argument demonstrates confidence. In reality, these actions often expose emotional dependence. The need to win every confrontation reveals that another person's opinion has gained too much importance. True confidence does not rush to defend itself because it understands that reputation is built over time through consistent behavior rather than emotional victories. Imagine two individuals facing the same insult. One immediately loses control, argues loudly, and spends hours replaying the event in their mind. The other listens carefully, maintains steady body language, speaks only when necessary, and leaves without showing emotional instability. Days later, people remember not only the insult but also the difference in character. Calmness becomes a silent demonstration of strength that requires no explanation. Those who witness the interaction begin associating emotional stability with authority, discipline, and confidence, while impulsive behavior leaves an impression of insecurity and unpredictability. The greatest victories often belong to the person who refuses to let another individual decide how they think, feel, or behave in the moments that matter most. Many people believe respect is earned by being helpful, agreeable, and endlessly patient. While kindness has its place, it becomes dangerous when it exists without boundaries. The moment people realize there are no consequences for ignoring your limits, they begin testing them. At first, the signs are subtle. Someone interrupts you repeatedly. A friend borrows your time without appreciation. A colleague takes credit for your work. A family member ignores your opinions because they assume you will remain silent. These actions may seem small, but they reveal a powerful truth. People often continue the behavior that is tolerated. Powerful people understand that boundaries are not walls built to keep others away. They are standards that define how others are allowed to treat you. Without them, your kindness is mistaken for weakness, your patience becomes permission, and your silence becomes acceptance. Every relationship, whether personal or professional, operates according to invisible rules. If you never communicate your standards through your actions, other people will create those rules for you. One of the greatest misconceptions is that setting boundaries requires aggression. In reality, the strongest boundaries are calm, consistent, and unmistakable. Powerful individuals rarely threaten or argue. They simply refuse to reward disrespect. If someone repeatedly wastes their time, they reduce access to that person. If someone constantly lies, trust is quietly withdrawn. If someone refuses to respect their efforts, opportunities become limited. These responses are not emotional punishments. They are logical consequences that protect dignity and reinforce self-respect. Human behavior is shaped by consequences. People quickly learn which actions bring rewards and which actions create distance. If every act of disrespect is met with forgiveness and unlimited chances, the behavior usually continues because nothing has changed. On the other hand, when disrespect consistently leads to the loss of trust, attention, or opportunity, people begin adjusting their behavior. Powerful people understand that words alone rarely change others. Consistent actions do. Another important principle is refusing to negotiate your self-worth. Many individuals spend enormous energy trying to explain why they deserve respect. They justify themselves, seek approval, and hope others will finally recognize their value. Powerful people take a different approach. They assume their value first and allow their behavior to communicate it. They do not chase acceptance from people who repeatedly ignore their standards. Instead, they invest their time where mutual respect already exists. Boundaries also require the courage to disappoint people. This is where many individuals struggle. They fear being called selfish, arrogant, or difficult. As a result, they constantly say yes when they want to say no. They tolerate behavior that drains their confidence simply to avoid conflict. Powerful people recognize that temporary discomfort is often the price of long-term respect. They understand that not everyone will appreciate healthy boundaries, especially those who benefited from having none. There is a psychological reason boundaries command respect. They demonstrate certainty. Uncertainty invites testing, while certainty discourages it. When people know exactly what behavior you accept and what behavior you reject, they stop guessing. Your consistency creates predictability, and predictability builds authority. Someone who changes their standards depending on the situation appears easy to manipulate. Someone who calmly applies the same standards to everyone becomes difficult to exploit. Boundaries become even more valuable during moments of success. As influence, money, or reputation grows, more people seek access to your time and attention. Some are genuine, while others simply want to benefit from your position. Powerful individuals recognize that every yes carries the hidden cost of saying no to something else. They protect their energy by deciding who deserves their trust instead of allowing everyone unlimited access. Another mistake people make is believing boundaries require dramatic confrontations. Often, the strongest response is quiet consistency. You do not need to announce every decision or explain every change. If someone repeatedly disrespects your efforts, you simply stop investing the same level of energy. If someone constantly breaks promises, you stop depending on them. If someone repeatedly crosses the line, you reduce their influence over your life. These actions communicate strength without unnecessary conflict because they shift the balance of the relationship through behavior rather than emotion. Respect grows where standards remain firm. The people who value you will adjust because they recognize your self-respect. Those who disappear after encountering your boundaries often reveal that they were benefiting from your lack of them all along. Powerful people never confuse access with entitlement, kindness with surrender, or patience with permission. They understand that every healthy relationship is built on mutual respect, and that respect becomes meaningful only when there is a clear cost for violating the standards that protect your time, your dignity, and your peace of mind. One of the greatest mistakes people make after being disrespected is believing they must respond immediately. They feel an overwhelming urge to explain themselves, defend their reputation, or prove the other person wrong. This impulse is understandable, but it often weakens their position. Powerful people recognize that every word spoken in anger gives away information. It reveals emotions, intentions, insecurities, and sometimes even fear. Silence, on the other hand, keeps those cards hidden. It creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is one of the strongest psychological forces in human interaction. Most people are uncomfortable with silence because they mistake it for weakness. They assume that if someone says nothing, they have no answer. In reality, silence can be a deliberate choice made by someone who understands the value of patience. Powerful individuals know that not every insult deserves a response, and not every challenge deserves attention. They carefully decide which battles deserve their energy because they understand that attention itself is a form of power. Whatever you consistently react to gains influence over your emotions. Imagine someone publicly criticizes you, hoping to provoke an argument. The average person immediately responds, trying to win the debate. The powerful person remains calm, listens carefully, and says very little. This unexpected reaction changes the emotional balance of the situation. The person who expected resistance now faces uncertainty. They begin wondering whether they misjudged the situation or whether their words failed to achieve the desired effect. Instead of controlling the conversation, they are forced to question themselves. Silence also protects you from making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Anger has a unique ability to convince people that immediate action is necessary. It whispers that if you do not respond now, you will appear weak forever. Powerful people refuse to obey this emotional pressure. They create space between the event and their response. That space allows reason to replace impulse. Often, after a few hours or a few days, what seemed like a personal attack reveals itself as insecurity, jealousy, misunderstanding, or simple carelessness. There is another reason silence commands respect. It demonstrates confidence. People who constantly explain themselves often reveal a hidden need for approval. They want everyone to understand their intentions and recognize their value. Powerful people understand that confidence does not require constant validation. They allow their actions, reputation, and consistency to speak louder than endless explanations. The less they feel compelled to justify themselves, the more others perceive them as emotionally secure. Strategic silence should never be confused with fear or avoidance. Avoidance comes from insecurity. Strategic silence comes from discipline. The difference lies in intention. Someone avoiding conflict remains silent because they fear consequences. Someone using strategic silence remains silent because they understand that timing increases influence. They know there will be a better moment to respond if a response is truly necessary. They refuse to allow another person's emotions to dictate their own behavior. Silence also becomes a powerful tool for gathering information. People naturally dislike empty space in conversations. When you stop talking, others often continue speaking. They reveal motives, frustrations, hidden opinions, and sometimes even contradictions they never intended to expose. Negotiators, investigators, and experienced leaders understand this principle well. Instead of filling every pause with words, they let silence encourage others to reveal more than they planned. Another advantage of silence is that it preserves mystery. Human beings are naturally curious. When someone reacts predictably every time, others quickly learn how to manipulate them. When your responses remain calm and measured, people find it difficult to predict your next move. That uncertainty creates caution. Individuals become more careful with their words because they cannot easily calculate how you will respond. Predictability often invites manipulation, while controlled unpredictability encourages respect. Many successful leaders throughout history understood that influence is rarely created by speaking the most. It is often created by speaking at the right moment. They listened more than they talked. They observed before deciding. They allowed emotions in the room to settle before offering a single sentence that carried greater weight than hours of argument. Their words became valuable precisely because they were never wasted. Strategic silence also protects your reputation. During emotional conflicts, people frequently say things they later regret. Harsh words spoken in seconds can damage relationships built over years. Powerful people recognize that every unnecessary sentence creates another opportunity for misunderstanding. By remaining composed, they avoid giving opponents material that can later be used against them. They preserve both their dignity and their credibility. Perhaps the greatest strength of silence is that it shifts your focus away from proving yourself and toward understanding the situation. Instead of asking, "How do I defend my pride?" powerful people ask, "What is really happening here?" That simple change transforms emotion into observation. Observation becomes insight. Insight becomes strategy. And strategy allows every response to be guided by purpose rather than impulse. In that quiet space between provocation and action, real power begins to reveal itself through patience, awareness, and complete control over one's own mind rather than another person's expectations or attempts to provoke a reaction. The strongest form of respect is not created by demanding it. It is created by becoming the kind of person whose reputation speaks before they enter the room. Powerful people understand that influence is built long before conflict ever begins. By the time someone considers disrespecting them, their character, consistency, and achievements have already established invisible boundaries. People are naturally cautious when dealing with individuals whose actions have earned credibility over time. Reputation becomes a silent shield, protecting them from challenges that others face daily. Many individuals spend their lives trying to defend themselves every time they are criticized. They explain their intentions, argue against false accusations, and desperately try to control what everyone thinks about them. Powerful people recognize that this is an endless battle. No matter how convincing your words are, there will always be someone determined to misunderstand you. Instead of chasing opinions, they focus on building undeniable value. They know that 1 year of consistent excellence outweighs 100 emotional arguments. Influence begins with competence. When you become exceptionally skilled at what you do, people naturally pay attention. Your confidence no longer depends on compliments because your ability provides proof. This is why respected leaders, successful entrepreneurs, and high-performing professionals invest more time improving themselves than defending themselves. Every new skill, every disciplined habit, and every meaningful achievement strengthens the foundation of their reputation. Their authority is earned through repeated results rather than loud declarations. Consistency plays an equally important role. Anyone can appear confident for 1 day or 1 week. True influence comes from behaving with discipline regardless of circumstances. Powerful people remain reliable when others become emotional. They keep their promises when it is inconvenient. They continue working when motivation disappears. Over time, these patterns become part of their identity. Others begin expecting strength from them because strength has become predictable. Respect grows naturally around people whose actions rarely contradict their words. Another important principle is protecting your image through selective association. The people around you influence how others perceive you. If you constantly surround yourself with negativity, dishonesty, or unnecessary drama, your own reputation becomes connected to theirs. Powerful individuals choose their environment carefully. They understand that influence is not only about personal behavior, but also about the company they keep. Being selective with friendships, partnerships, and collaborations sends a powerful message about your standards. Reputation also depends on emotional stability. People trust those who remain composed under pressure because emotional control suggests maturity and reliability. Imagine two leaders facing the same crisis. One panics, blames others, and reacts impulsively. The other stays calm, gathers information, and makes thoughtful decisions. Even before the problem is solved, people begin placing greater confidence in the second leader. Emotional discipline becomes part of their reputation, making others naturally look to them during difficult situations. Powerful people also understand the importance of protecting their words. They do not make promises they cannot keep. They avoid exaggerating their abilities simply to impress others. Every commitment they make becomes part of their credibility. When their words consistently match their actions, trust grows stronger. Over time, this trust transforms into influence because people believe what they say without requiring endless proof. There is another hidden advantage to building influence. It reduces the need for constant confrontation. Someone with a respected reputation rarely needs to remind others of their worth because their history already does the talking. Imagine entering a room where everyone already knows your discipline, professionalism, and integrity. Many conflicts disappear before they begin because people understand there are consequences for underestimating someone whose value has already been demonstrated repeatedly. Building influence also requires patience. Modern culture encourages instant recognition and quick success, but true reputation develops slowly. It is shaped by thousands of ordinary decisions that few people notice at the time. Showing up consistently, treating others fairly, honoring commitments, improving your skills, and maintaining discipline when nobody is watching may seem insignificant individually. Together, they create a powerful image that becomes difficult to challenge. Powerful people never become obsessed with appearing important. They become obsessed with becoming valuable. They understand that appearances fade, but genuine competence continues attracting opportunities. They invest in knowledge because knowledge cannot be taken away. They strengthen their character because character survives criticism. They improve their habits because habits eventually shape destiny. Every decision they make contributes another layer to the reputation they are quietly constructing. When disrespect eventually appears, as it inevitably does in every life, they do not rely on loud arguments to defend themselves. Their influence has already established a foundation that others recognize. Their calm confidence, proven abilities, disciplined behavior, and consistent record create an authority that cannot easily be questioned. Long before they speak a single word, the weight of their reputation has already begun shaping the way people think, respond, and behave in their presence, making respect a natural consequence of the value they have spent years creating through unwavering commitment to excellence rather than temporary displays of force or emotion. Most people see disrespect as a personal attack. Powerful people see it as information. They understand that every insult, betrayal, rejection, or act of disrespect reveals something valuable. It exposes the other person's character, intentions, insecurities, and level of emotional control. Instead of allowing these moments to damage their confidence, they use them to gain clarity. What appears to be an obstacle becomes an opportunity to understand people more deeply and position themselves more wisely. One of the greatest advantages of experiencing disrespect is that it removes illusions. Many people spend years believing certain friendships, partnerships, or professional relationships are built on loyalty and mutual respect. Then one moment of success, failure, or disagreement reveals the truth. Someone begins speaking behind their back, taking credit for their work, ignoring their contributions, or abandoning them when circumstances become difficult. While painful, these moments save powerful people from investing years in relationships that were never genuine. Disrespect often reveals reality much faster than kindness ever could. Emotionally driven individuals usually waste energy asking, "Why did this happen to me?" Powerful people ask a different question: "What can this teach me?" That small shift completely changes the outcome. Instead of becoming victims of circumstances, they become students of human nature. Every difficult experience becomes another lesson in understanding ambition, envy, manipulation, trust, and power. Over time, these lessons give them an advantage that cannot be learned from books alone. Powerful people also understand that disrespect can become fuel for growth. History is filled with individuals who were underestimated, rejected, ridiculed, or dismissed before achieving extraordinary success. They refused to allow criticism to define their identity. Instead, they converted frustration into discipline. Every doubt became another reason to improve their skills. Every rejection became motivation to work harder. Every insult became a reminder that success speaks louder than arguments. Rather than seeking revenge through words, they focused on becoming so capable that their achievements answered every criticism. There is another important psychological principle at work. People who constantly react to disrespect remain emotionally attached to the person who offended them. They replay conversations, imagine arguments, and allow resentment to occupy their thoughts for days or even years. Powerful people recognize that this emotional attachment gives their opponent continued influence over their lives. The greatest victory is often refusing to carry that burden. By redirecting their attention toward personal growth, they transform negative experiences into productive energy instead of emotional exhaustion. Disrespect also creates opportunities to strengthen decision-making. When someone reveals dishonesty, manipulation, or a lack of integrity, powerful individuals adjust accordingly. They become more selective with trust. They improve their judgment without becoming bitter. They understand that wisdom does not come from avoiding disappointment, but from learning how to recognize patterns before they become costly. Every experience sharpens their ability to distinguish genuine allies from temporary companions. Another overlooked advantage of disrespect is resilience. Comfort rarely develops strength. Challenges do. Every difficult interaction forces you to practice patience, emotional control, observation, and discipline. These qualities cannot be developed in environments where everything always goes according to plan. Just as physical muscles grow through resistance, mental strength develops through adversity. Powerful people do not seek unnecessary conflict, but they recognize that overcoming it prepares them for greater responsibilities. Some people become obsessed with proving others wrong. Powerful individuals focus instead on proving themselves right. They understand that chasing validation keeps them dependent on the opinions of those who doubted them. Real success comes from achieving personal standards rather than satisfying critics. When your goals become larger than your need for approval, the opinions of negative people gradually lose their emotional power. Turning disrespect into an advantage also requires patience. Immediate revenge often satisfies the ego, but rarely improves your future. Powerful people think in years rather than moments. They understand that disciplined improvement creates opportunities that emotional retaliation can never provide. While others waste time arguing, complaining, or seeking sympathy, they quietly build knowledge, financial independence, influence, and confidence. Eventually, the difference between the two paths becomes impossible to ignore. Perhaps the greatest transformation occurs when disrespect changes your understanding of yourself. Instead of depending on constant praise, you begin measuring your value through discipline, integrity, and consistent effort. You stop allowing temporary opinions to determine permanent beliefs about your potential. Confidence becomes internal rather than external. This shift creates freedom because your emotional stability no longer depends on how others choose to treat you. Every experience of disrespect carries two possibilities. It can become a wound that weakens your confidence, or it can become a lesson that strengthens your judgment. Powerful people consciously choose the second path. They refuse to waste painful experiences. They collect lessons instead of resentment, wisdom instead of excuses, discipline instead of revenge, and growth instead of self-pity. In doing so, every attempt to diminish them becomes another step toward greater resilience, sharper awareness, stronger character, and a level of personal power that cannot be taken away by the opinions, actions, or disrespect of anyone else. Many people believe respect is something they can force through intimidation, louder voices, or displays of authority. They assume that if they appear stronger than everyone else, people will naturally admire and obey them. But fear created by force is temporary. The moment power disappears, so does obedience. Powerful people understand a deeper truth. Lasting respect is earned through consistent strength of character, disciplined actions, and unwavering self-control. They do not waste energy trying to dominate every room because they know genuine authority is recognized, not announced. Strength begins with consistency. Anyone can appear confident on a good day when life is easy and everyone agrees with them. The real test comes during moments of pressure. When plans fail, when criticism becomes louder, when people question your abilities, and when unexpected challenges arise, your response reveals your true character. Powerful individuals understand that every difficult situation becomes another opportunity to reinforce the image they have built. They remain calm, focused, and disciplined because they know people remember how you behave under pressure far more than how you behave when everything is comfortable. Consistency also creates trust. Human beings naturally respect people whose actions remain steady over time. If your principles change depending on convenience, people become uncertain about who you really are. One day you defend your values, the next day you abandon them to gain approval. This inconsistency weakens credibility. Powerful people establish clear principles and live according to them regardless of circumstances. They refuse to sacrifice integrity for temporary popularity because they understand that reputation grows stronger every time actions match beliefs. Another characteristic of powerful individuals is emotional discipline. They refuse to let praise make them arrogant or criticism make them insecure. They recognize that both admiration and rejection can become distractions if given too much importance. Instead of chasing compliments, they pursue improvement. Instead of fearing criticism, they examine whether it contains useful lessons. Their confidence remains stable because it is built on internal standards rather than external opinions. This emotional balance creates a presence that others naturally admire. Powerful people also understand the importance of keeping their word. Every promise they make becomes a reflection of their identity. If they commit to something, they follow through whenever possible. They do not make impressive promises simply to gain attention. Instead, they allow reliability to become part of their reputation. Over time, people begin trusting them without requiring constant reassurance because consistent action has already established credibility. Discipline separates temporary confidence from lasting strength. Motivation comes and goes. Emotions change every day. Circumstances become unpredictable. Discipline continues regardless of these conditions. Powerful people develop routines that strengthen their minds, improve their skills, and increase their resilience even when they do not feel inspired. While others wait for perfect conditions, they continue moving forward. This relentless consistency creates results that eventually command respect without demanding it. Another reason consistent strength earns respect is that it inspires confidence in others. People naturally look for stability during uncertain times. They seek leaders, friends, and partners who remain dependable when emotions become chaotic. Someone who panics during every challenge cannot provide reassurance. Someone who remains calm while others lose control becomes a source of confidence. Their presence alone reduces uncertainty because people believe they can handle pressure without collapsing emotionally. Powerful people avoid unnecessary displays of dominance. They understand that constantly reminding others of their status often reveals insecurity rather than confidence. Someone who truly possesses influence rarely needs to announce it. Their behavior, competence, and composure communicate more than endless attempts to impress. They allow results to speak louder than titles, achievements to speak louder than promises, and quiet confidence to speak louder than unnecessary aggression. Strength also means accepting responsibility. Many individuals protect their ego by blaming circumstances or other people whenever something goes wrong. Powerful individuals examine their own decisions first. They ask what they could have done differently, what lesson can be learned, and how they can improve moving forward. This mindset accelerates growth because responsibility creates control. Excuses surrender control. Every challenge becomes another opportunity to strengthen character rather than defend pride. There is also tremendous power in patience. Consistent strength is rarely noticed overnight. It develops through years of disciplined behavior that many people overlook at first. Day after day, powerful individuals continue honoring their standards even when nobody is watching. They continue improving even when recognition is absent. They continue behaving with integrity even when dishonesty appears easier. Eventually, these repeated choices shape not only their reputation but also their identity. True authority does not depend on controlling others. It begins with mastering yourself. The individual who controls emotions, honors commitments, protects principles, improves continuously, and remains steady during adversity possesses a form of strength that cannot easily be challenged. Such a person no longer needs to demand respect because respect becomes the natural response to years of disciplined actions. Unwavering character, emotional stability, quiet confidence, dependable leadership, and an unshakable commitment to becoming stronger with every challenge life places before them, rather than allowing temporary setbacks or the opinions of others to define their worth or direction.